On July 1, 1981, Los Angeles police arrived at a rented townhouse in the Laurel Canyon area. Inside, they discovered 4 individuals bludgeoned to death. A 5th victim survived the attack but was left with permanent amnesia. The nature of the injuries suggested a systematic, targeted homicide. Detectives quickly recovered a prime suspect's handprint, several items of stolen property, and millions of dollars in narcotics. Despite that massive influx of physical evidence, the state failed to secure a single murder conviction. To understand why the case collapsed, we must look past the isolated crime scene at 8763 Wonderland and map the interconnected nodes of the city's underworld. These empty placeholders represent independent criminal factions whose structure prevented the evidence from reaching the masterminds. The occupants of the townhouse were members of the Wonderland Gang, a group involved in large-scale drug trafficking throughout Hollywood. On June 29th, the gang committed an armed home invasion at the residence of Eddie Nash, a powerful nightclub owner and organized crime figure. During the robbery, the gang shot and injured Nash's personal bodyguard, Gregory Dials. By drawing blood from a figure like Nash, the Wonderland Gang initiated a cycle of retaliation that would return to their townhouse 48 hours later. The individual who linked these two factions was the adult film star John Holmes. Holmes was deeply embedded with both groups. He had been at Nash's house 3 times on the morning of the robbery, leaving a sliding door open for the gang to enter later that day. When Nash realized Holmes was the leak, he sent his men to find the actor in Hollywood and bring him back for questioning. Witnesses later claimed Holmes was tied to a chair and beaten until he gave up the identities of everyone involved in the robbery. This map shows Holmes' position shift. He was no longer just a drug user. He became the physical bridge Nash needed. By surrendering those names, Holmes connected the heist to the bodies found on Wonderland Avenue. Early in the morning on July 1st, Holmes led a group of unidentified men into the Wonderland townhouse and stood by while they carried out the killings. The group used hammers and metal pipes to bludgeon the occupants while they slept. When police arrived, they found Holmes's palm print on a headboard in one of the bedrooms. A subsequent raid on Eddie Nash's residence a few days later provided the final piece of the sequence. Detectives found over $1 million worth of cocaine, alongside items that had been stolen from the Wonderland house just days prior. Investigators now had the physical evidence that connected the motive for the robbery directly back to the scene of the murders. Even with a clear map of the motives and the suspects, the state's case began to dissolve the moment it entered a courtroom. John Holmes was acquitted of all murder charges in 1982, after his lawyers argued he was a victim who had been forced to witness the crime by the actual killers. Eddie Nash faced 2 separate trials in state court. The first ended with a hung jury, and the second resulted in an acquittal for both Nash and his bodyguard. It wasn't until 2000 that federal authorities secured a confession from Nash under RICO charges. Because the suspects, the victims, and the witnesses all operated within a criminal underworld, a few well-placed bribes were enough to disrupt the entire investigation. The case remains officially unsolved because the truth was effectively bought.